My female, 49, cousin female, 23 asked my daughter female, 16, to perform at her wedding reception but became bitter upon seeing the positive reception to her act, Part 2. Second update. This is going to be the last time I update, and I want to thank everyone who gave advice. In my last post, I mentioned that Jane said she'd be open to talking to a professional so long as it wasn't anyone from her school, and we agreed to accommodate her. However, she changed her mind shortly after and said she wanted to talk to her coach instead, whom she had been brushing off since the reception and being vague about how it went. She and her coach put a lot of time into choreographing the act for Dana, and she didn't even charge her for the sessions to do so. Her coach is also part of her Circus Studios performing troupe, and she has always been supportive and understanding. We supported her decision to talk with her coach, and they did in person. It was after they spoke that Jane spoke to me following her coach's suggestion to do so, and I'm going to be somewhat vague about certain details of our discussion. She also asked to speak to me first before we'd talk to my husband afterward, and that's what we did. Jane opened up about how Dana sent a private message to her Instagram the day after the reception, but to her personal Instagram and not the private circus one. Dana's private message was just as bitter as her Facebook posts, but much more hurtful. Dana called Jane derogatory sexual terms in her message, and I can't express how angry my husband and I still are. Jane said she was surprised upon receiving the message. Dana was always supportive of her craft, and she gave her a standing ovation along with her husband. Looking back, Dana probably did because everyone else was doing so. But Dana also wrote that she only received the ovation because they were family who were biased and couldn't tell the difference between a good and bad aerialist. Jane blocked Dana long before we spoke, and she said she was hurt because Dana was one of the relatives who came up for Christmas early when he hosted some years back to attend her studio's Christmas recital, which surprised her, and we all went out to dinner afterwards too. My husband and I tried our best to remind her that Dana's reaction was a reflection of her insecurities rather than anything Jane did. If the best man gave a speech that garnered the same reaction, Dana would have directed her vitriol at him. Jane said she understood that it wasn't her fault, but there was more in Dana's message that hurt her confidence, such as bodily comments that were disgusting. She said she may return to aerial at some point, but that she still needs time and is unsure about performing again compared to doing it leisurely. We told her, among other things, that we commended her decision to speak with her coach and that we'll respect her ultimate decision. Jane also said that she didn't tell us immediately because she wasn't sure if she wanted further drama with Dana if we told her parents about her message. However, after some time, she said she actually wanted us to tell them because she felt that Dana deserved repercussions for it. She said she was surprised that Dana's parents called her out publicly on Facebook without knowing about the message, so that made her feel comfortable with us telling them. Jane also saved a screenshot of Dana's message. And while we agreed to tell her parents, we suggested that she delete it afterwards because it's not good to carry around hurtful things. She's also still open to speaking to a professional about the other stuff in Dana's message that's more hurtful so long as it's no one from her school. We are in the process of trying to find a therapist who can help with some of the infidelities that led to her shutdown in the weeks after the performance. I honestly cannot thank her coach enough, but I just want to touch on a few more things that were suggested in comments. I received a few DMs saying we were just as bad as Dana for addressing Dana's lies on Facebook, so I want to be clear. My husband and I rarely use Facebook, and if someone had started drama with me on a Facebook post, I wouldn't use Facebook to address it personally. I'd opt for a call instead. But since she disparaged a minor publicly with lies regarding costumes that we had text proof of her approving, we felt the need to post those messages proving that she signed off on them, and we asked Jane if she was okay with it first. The other thing a few people asked was whether her costume was potentially inappropriate. The costume we purchased came from a website that many professional circus performers use, including some who used to be in Cirque du Soleil and tag the shop while wearing it on their socials, and we purchased other costumes from there in the past. Heck, some of their costumes have been used in wedding gigs by hired circus performers too. Jane's costume also received many compliments, but we're glad Jane realizes that she isn't responsible for Dana's insecurities. This was also Jane's first negative experience in her young performing career. Despite knowing Dana is entirely at fault, her words still hurt as they were close before this. Jane has kept in contact with her coach since, and she's even considering a different apparatus to take her mind off of silks that is temporarily tainted. We hope that time and therapy will help her with whatever she chooses, but her coach has also floated the idea of organizing a hangout with her troupe completely outside of aerial, like a zipline/rope course day, to get her mind off of it while seeing her friends, and she said she'd be open to it. Dana's parents also sent Shari's berries for Jane, which was really sweet, and Jane sent them a text to thank them too. Regarding Dana's parents, I discussed the private message with Dana's mother, and she was even more disgusted than before. She said that she and her husband would deal with it, and that there'd be permanent changes to their relationship with Dana until she apologizes, and then some. She also apologized to us on her behalf and said she didn't raise her to be like that. But for what it's worth, even before we mentioned Dana's message, she told me that Dana's husband wasn't thrilled with her Facebook post. Among other things, Dana complained about regarding the wedding, things that I had no clue about. She also said she's not sure if they'll be together much longer due to other things going on too. But I'll keep this to Jane only and hope that she comes back to Ariel someday, or even a different apparatus if she chooses. Third update, I didn't plan on making another post, but something incredible happened after my last post, and I couldn't resist. Sometime after making Dana's mother aware of Dana's private Instagram message to Jane, Dana's husband reached out to us on Facebook asking if we could have a call, and it was the first I'd heard from him since the reception. After arranging a call, he said he heard about the effect Dana's Facebook post and Instagram message had on Jane, and that he felt terrible about her considering quitting. He said he disapproved of Dana's behavior regarding Jane, among other things, post-wedding that led to him pursuing a divorce. However, upon talking to his father about how Dana's behavior potentially ruined her passion, his parents were equally disgusted and wanted to do something, and that led to him reaching out. He said he felt bad about Jane alienating herself from her studio/performing troupe friends as a result of Dana's behavior, and that gave way to an idea. He wanted to ask if Jane would be comfortable performing at a fundraising dinner alongside her troupe if he hired them through the studio so that something good could come from Dana's mess, and he figured that performing alongside her friends would make her more comfortable. He also said that Dana's original Facebook post had become a talking point among many of his friends/relatives who attended the reception and felt bad about Dana disparaging her. My husband and I even received a few Facebook messages expressing support for Jane after Dana's post, but he wanted to do something more. He talked to his father about booking a restaurant/catering space for a fundraiser banquet that would support her circus studio and performers, and the money would go to the studio and a local charity. However, he also wants to give a college donation to the performers and allow attendees to donate to the performers' college funds, as many of them are Jane's age. He said he partly got the idea from relatives who wanted to express support for Jane outside of a Facebook message to us, and some even asked if Jane's performance would be uploaded, which wasn't for various reasons, Dana's bitterness and him not wanting to post a bad memory for Jane. He said that the event would only happen if Jane was comfortable because he wanted to encourage her to perform again with her Ariel friends, and it wouldn't happen immediately as he's trying to work on a divorce. She and her troupe would have time to choreograph, and the banquet would support the local youth in the community along with a charity for a good cause. I told him I would ask and get back to him, and when I relayed everything to Jane, she was excited about the idea of performing with her friends, which made me happy to see her open to it. When I told him her reply, he was happy that something good would come from Dana's mess. He also reckoned that members of his extended family/friends would come because many were upset on Jane's behalf, and were going to invite our family as well. He asked for our help in booking the studio's troupe, and we told Jane's coach, who has been helpful and in touch with him too. I'll try to make no more than one more update after the event, but I wanted to share this because it came out of nowhere and seems to have reignited Jane's passion. I can't thank him and his father enough. His vision is to allow someone from the charity his father knows to speak early at the banquet, and after that person does, members of the troupe will perform acts as part of a 30 to 40-minute show, giving each performer a chance to shine before he and his father end the program with monetary donations to the charity, studio, and performers' college funds before a plate or something is passed so that attendees can donate to the college funds too. It may be a few months until it happens, but I'll try my best to update when it does. I apologize for how long this update was, but I also appreciate everyone who gave advice on my other posts too. Fourth update. This will be the last time I update, as we received some questions about what happened. Dana's ex-husband and his father originally wanted to involve a local charity in the event, but those plans fell apart for various reasons, including financial, which led to a pivot. With the charity no longer involved, they decided to make the circus studio the sole charity, with all banquet proceedings going to the studio/performers' scholarships instead. The cost of the venue they had in mind was a little expensive coming off of the wedding expenses, so they pivoted to using the studio's space instead, which was free and often used for student recitals. The difference from recitals was that they'd use the money for the original venue to promote the event in the community as a way to support local artists. And the event would be an open house with giveaways and free trial class signups predicated around a performance showcase. They've been able to promote on sites like Eventbrite and even the library, and they figured that Jane would feel at home in her home studio where she's done recitals many times. All sales will go through and be organized by the studio, as they've done various events before, like the troupe that Jane performs with at festivals. Members of both of our families have committed to attending, and a few who live further have opted to donate online and watching the recording afterwards, as we are months removed from the wedding incident from November. Jane has still not received an apology from Dana. However, there was a comment someone said that we relayed, and that was that sometimes you won't get an apology in life. Jane has come around a lot since November, but hasn't performed since then. The fundraiser will be her first performance since, and it will take place in July. Dana's mother has stated that she will not attend, but will make a donation online as well as a personal donation to Jane through us. She also stated that Dana will not be allowed at any family junctions, Thanksgiving and Christmas among others, until she apologizes, and she has already been informed. I also want to add a final nugget that Dana's mother told me about. As Dana continued to not apologize and vent to her, she disclosed another reason that made her upset. When the MC announced the wedding party's entrance into the reception one by one, similar to an NBA starting lineup during pregame introductions, for those who don't know, Dana and her husband entered last. However, the MC told everyone to stand and welcome the new Mr. and Mrs. as he announced their entrance into the reception, and that later made her upset. When Jane received the standing ovation following her performance, Dana said that no one told the audience to stand and applaud. They did it on their own volition, and Dana said she didn't think they would have done the same for her and her husband if the MC didn't tell them to stand. Her mother tried to explain that she was comparing apples to oranges, that the entrance and a performance are two vastly different things. But she still hasn't apologized, and I hope she comes around someday. I previously mentioned that I suggested if Dana would be open to talking to a counselor, but her mother said that Dana wasn't and was simply being immature. She also said there were similar behaviors we hadn't seen inside of their family of similar overreactions, but time has helped Jane start to move forward, although she's still torn on performing as a career. Before the wedding, she wanted to perform/teach after high school on the side of a day job, with the hopes of it one day becoming a day job, but she said she's reconsidering long-term. She'll continue to perform with her troupe through graduation and see what happens then, and that's better than her quitting. The very last thing I'll add is personal. Dana's parents are Christians, and they raised her Christian too. I'm not sure whether Dana is or not, but I was raised Christian before I later walked away, but there was a verse that came to mind that I shared with Jane. Not to push religion because we don't attend church, but because it's good advice that I thought she could use. Romans 12:15 says, "Be happy with those who are happy, and weep with those who weep." Building each other up is a good way to live, but she saw how hurtful the opposite can be. On the day it happened, we all thought Dana's wedding was beautiful. Jane was so surprised with the standing ovation as we talked about it on the way home, along with the many compliments she received. Dana's jealousy tarnished it the following day with her personal message, so we hope it also shows her the importance of choosing to be happy for others instead of jealous, because it only takes one negative comment out of many compliments to hurt someone.